Okay, look, I don't know what happened or why, but I came back whenever I did my, because I always do an audio test, and this game was it was super loud, and all of the audio stuff was reset. I'm gonna put this about right here and turn it down on my end on my headset. Okay, wow. Alright, it's been a long time, by the way. It's been like, I want to say like a month since I last recorded any of this. Got the new audio set up, thankfully, thank goodness. But yeah, we're here with One Button Man. I don't have my controller on. Crap. Can I change that here? Let's just get in there and see if it'll work whenever I get into the game, huh? Okay. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. Okay, it works. Alright, it's been a minute. I have a cryptic note about crabs. Crane, then +1 crossroads, perp, acquire crab. Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, alright, never mind. This isn't actually working, hold on. Hold on, I don't know if I'm still recording, like, if it's still recording the game. Well, you know what I mean, it's not recording the game, but if it's still recording, the game whenever I come back into it. Okay, let's try this with the controller on. From the word jump. There we go, okay, okay. Okay, let me check OBS. It looks like we're recording again. So, yeah, I'd like to just go ahead and keep that nice and continuous. Troubleshooting. Okay, well, with that taken care of, I want to go ahead and look at the devotion map and see what I was on about. So, crane, and then take... Okay, and then put it into purple and get the crab. Where crab? There crab. The crab marks the beginning of the most prosperous fishing season of the year, but also one of the most dangerous, as the larger spawns of the sea come closer to shore, following the migration patterns of the smaller fish and crabs. Okay. How's the crane gonna get me to crab? Oh, okay, I see. I see how. Okay. Alright. It's been that long, folks. You see we've got injured here. Now, what were we doing? I think we were just straight up going to be dealing with getting to the necropolis. Aiding in the resurrection of Malkadar, right. Where is that? That's Sar's Bastion, I think. My ears are acting up already, which is always a good sign. Alright. And I totally forgot to have my phone near me for knowing the time of recording, but... the length of the recording, if you will.
Skill's not ready.
So, yes, we're now getting back into the swing of things, and this was the quest that we were last on, I think, with the necromancers, right? Like, we had to come here, and I think we have to, like, keep spooky ghosts away from a... Oh, Order Doctrine. Okay. Go ahead and read that. Yeah, they're just necromancers, you know how it is. Everything is in place. The ritual will require my complete attention, so it falls on you to keep the dead contained while I search for Malkadar. I will be shielded from their presence, but should any of the spirits remain when the ritual is finished, the results could be disastrous. What do I gotta do? The ritual will draw spirits to itself like a beacon in the darkness. Make sure that whatever comes through the veil is not around for long. You must keep the room clear so that it is Malkadar we bring back and not some wayward soul. Okay? So that's kind of loud for me. I might want to turn that down again. But, yeah, it's just killing undead, I guess. Not that bad. All things considered where we're at in the stupid skeleton. Oh, goodness, I wasn't paying attention to my life. Wow. Yeah, not that bad, I guess, until you get murked. Wow, okay, and that sapped a lot of XP, too. That stinks.
I can't do that yet.
I suppose that's probably why I didn't do that. Okay, then. The last recording session. Yeah, we failed that. I mean, honestly, this is like a, I'm not sure you get much of worth from this side quest. Like, this is clearly an optional side quest thing, so I might just get right past it to continue on with the already lengthy main game. But I'll give it another shot, this time not being stupid. Oh, and I have to go get the sky. What did that much damage to me is what I'm wondering. Oh, okay. It must have been the Skeletal Knight, I think. Because if I remember right, those guys have like a weird thing where they'll have a nasty attack that just does tons and tons of bleed or whatever. Okay, gotta get the priests down.
That skill's not ready.
Get the crossbowman if I can. Oh, goodness. Yeah, definitely need to get that guy. Come on, you turd. Stop running away, I say, as I run away in a circle. Yeah, pretty standard fight. What is that guy's name? Ultracon? Storm's Brick? Ultracon Palled? Storm's Brick. Electrified. What a name. Okay. We're really getting into it here. Okay, I can hit them from across the, like, cistern in the middle. That's good. Those, like, I don't think that's chaos damage. I think that's actually vitality damage, which, I mean, I have 30% resistance against. Get away from that dude's possible bleed attacks. You would think that they would have more people on deck for something like this, that it wouldn't just be my guy, right? That it wouldn't just be our hero here, One Button Man. That is kind of gross that that dude's just raising 22,000 HP damage sponges. That's a little skeevy. Not a fan of that. Okay, and now we get to the real boss, I guess. Oh, goodness. That's bad. Wow, they're definitely taking out all the stops, huh?
That skill's not ready.
They're pretty organized for, you know, random undead. Oh, Noveria Stormfire. Again? Really? Oh, right! That's because they're using her... Okay, that makes sense. I can't even, like, get mad at that. If I remember right, aren't they using, like, her soul for this? So I guess that makes a sort of grim kind of sense that she'd be here and angry about it. Okay, well, I think that's it. I'd hope. Alright. How convenient that they end the ritual right as we get rid of the last one. There's Malkadar. You've done the Order a great service. What of Malkadar? He shall resume his duties under the Keeper of Tomes, his knowledge preserved for future generations. Do not use Q-tips in your ears, like I am right now. If you do and you blame me for any injuries, you are not acting in good faith. I told you not to. Don't do it. This isn't a bit. Don't do it. I don't have the money. don't at me. I don't have money for a lawsuit. Okay. Malkadar says, so it is you I must thank for my resurrection. I mean, I guess. So what happens now? This is for the Keeper to decide. I am hers to command. Are you her slave? A strong way to put it, but in a sense, whatever the Keeper wishes shall be done. Why would you agree to this? To gain access to the innermost secrets of necromancy, I had to agree to this binding so that all I learn is not lost should I perish. It was a price worth paying. It was a price worth paying, an honor, not a curse, if you say that. Will you obey me? Malkadar cackles. You may have participated in my return, but you are not the one who performed the binding. Okay. Okay, great. The Keeper of Tomes. Malkadar once again walks among us. You have done well. The ritual is complete. The spirits are banished. And we get Alvaric's Rebuke, an epic two-handed mace. Thanks. The actual reward is plus 1,000 Order of Death's Vigil reputation, I guess. Indeed, the Rite of Resurrection was a success, and our brave Malkadar is once again able to serve me and the Order. Okay, Malkadar has to serve you? His continued existence is tied to my will. For as long as I demand it, he shall serve his duties. That seems wrong. Is it so wrong to sacrifice yourself wholly in the name of a greater cause? Malkadar knew what was at stake when he joined the First Circle and learned its secrets. His knowledge must be preserved for the good of the Order. Do you require anything else? You have served the Order well, but there are things I cannot entrust you with yet. Come back to me when you've proven your loyalty without a shadow of a doubt. What can I do to prove myself? Vanish our foes, the Chosen of Kaimon, or the Ethereals which mock our powers. You could check the bounty table in case any of our Order have tasks they require assistance in. Okay, I will not actually do that. What they're talking about is... Where is it? This thing? No, that's not... I mean, I saw the table and the little green thing next to it, so... This is it. The Keeper of Tomes calls upon the Order to handle many important tasks imperative to Karen's balance. Will you join your brothers and sisters in this sacred task? Take a look at the bounty. The Chosen of Kaimon are fanatics and fools, but even fools can be dangerous when armed with blades and fire. One of their finest warriors, Olga Flamebearer, has been spotted at Fort Heron. Make an example of her. Our material stores are at the disposal of the champion that ends her life. So that's just what this is. It's like repeatable quests. Once you do all the bounties, you can exit and then come back, and then you can get the same bounties. I say new, they're the same bounties. That's the grinding aspect of this game whenever it comes to reputation, and we're not doing that. I said that we would do that. I just remembered that I said that we would do that with the rovers, and I meant it. So I'm not sure I want to do that right now. There's that two-handed mace we're not going to be using. I'm not going to do that right now because I kind of want to just, you know, get back into the swing of things, make some actual main quest progress, and I'm not sure how much time I actually have for this recording session. My non-gaming stuff, right? Like, this is kind of my hobby, if you will. My actual stuff that I'm doing right now, I kind of need to put a lot of effort into that. It's kind of difficult to explain. If you go check out my non-gaming channel, you'll see the kind of stuff that I'm up to. I actually plan on doing a new video about Inkscape and graphing Principia Mathematica by Alfred North Whitehead and Bertrand Russell. In Inkscape, as opposed to using Paint 3D as a medium. Honestly, after I figured out a little trick how to make miniaturized text look, and by saying I figured out, what I really mean is I used the Brave browser search engine. Like, they have their own search engine, and the search AI on that is stupendously good. You should check it out. Like, it's a treat. It'll help you with stuff that you didn't know search AI can help you with. Like, hey, how do I get audio to work on a 15-year-old game? And it will somehow find the one Steam post with like only one response from 10 years ago. It was some crazy stuff like that where it helped me out. I forget the game even. I think it was like, it was on Steam. It was some Steam game. I forget what game though. But like, I was having some kind of audio issue and it helped me resolve that. I was just kind of stupefied. Like, how did you even find that Steam post kind of stuff? But yeah, it helped me out. The me figuring it out part was finding it in the actual menu options for Inkscape. I don't know what the deal is. Like, if Inkscape had a new UI thing recently, I downloaded it for title cards actually for. I never ended up doing that, but that was the intention of downloading it, was to make custom, like, prettier custom title cards for by OpenShot editing, and I just sort of realized that, oh, this might actually be really good for graphing if, you know, X, Y, and Z functions exist in it, and they actually did. By the way, we're basically just running over random landmines, if I'm not mistaken, so that's where those random explosions are coming from. But yeah, it turns out that it does have like snap to grid, pixel-less measurement, all this other cool stuff. So, and then there's this final thing where the miniaturized text actually looked really blurry and bad, and that's kind of something that I was having a problem with in Paint 3D too for my graphs. But there's this thing you can do where you select the text and then you go up to like edit object to path, which I don't know why it's called a path or whatever, but it basically turns the text into an actual like vectorized thingy, for want of a better word. So you can no longer edit the text past that point, but whenever, even if it's really, really tiny, it comes out like crisp, which is stupendous. Like, that was the last real hiccup I had for the stuff that I'm doing at the moment with it, with that project. But the me figuring it out part, I was gonna say, I don't know if like Inkscape had a UI change recently or something, like before I got it, but some of the instructions on how to get to stuff are a little bit off, like saying that the snap to grid controls are under a magnet, like a little magnet icon, and the actual icon looks nothing like a magnet. I don't know. You know, it's just little things like that, or like, oh, in the left side toolbar, and it's like something actually in the right side of the screen. Like, I don't know what, you know, I just don't know how that mismatch occurred and the results that the search AI is using, but regardless, like, it was helpful enough that I could, like, finagle it to figure out where I should be looking and fix the stuff that I needed to fix and get the settings that I needed set. Okay, we're gonna need the mouse here so that I can just keep firing at that regardless of what comes my way. There we go. I'm trying to use the controller only, but like being able to just stand there and fire at it instead of having to deal with the auto targeting everything between me and it is just necessary. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that I'm going to be covering soon in a video on my non-gaming channel, but yeah, I need to kind of put more effort and more hours into that, like a lot more effort and hours into that, because my project is probably going to take me a year at a minimum, as it is, right? But anyway, to look at the map, the Plains of Strife are basically exactly what they sound like. They're a war zone between here and the Necropolis. And it's kind of incredible that these guys are just casually walking around a minefield. Okay, I think this might actually be the Chthonic Rift where there's a... And I should get that on my phone, actually, the, like, map of where the different shrines are at. Oh, I can walk through that, okay. I didn't know if I could walk through that weird smoking crater or not. Let's just go ahead and bow down all of these fellas. It's kind of weird because it's hard to see what you can and can't walk through. Like, that doesn't... Yeah, like, that doesn't look like you can't walk through it. Right? It's like, dude, you can't just lift up your leg and just kind of step over... Come on. Just a little silly. Ah! Those landmines hurt, man. Holy crap. Okay, another one where we just need to shoot at it. Get within range, of course, and just shoot at it. Since our bullets more or less just travel through stuff anyway, right? Okay, there we go. Ah! The freaking landmines got me. Ugh. I think we've had more deaths in this episode than, like, most of the episodes prior.
That skill's not ready.
Wow, okay. We'll get after it. It's fine. Wait, hold on. Aw, dude, why did it reset all of my stuff? Lock map rotation. Yes. Why did it reset all of that? Who wants map rotation? Not me. I am not a person who wants map rotation.
That skill's not ready.
I don't think there's anything, like, important over here. I'm just kind of filling out the map, as usual, because I just like filling out the map. You know, you'd think the boys would kind of clear out the rest of the fort by now, but whatever, guys. I guess it's not that important. I mean, I don't really know what to say about the landmine thing. It's a little goofy, I guess. I'm just... I mean, in my head, I can kind of figure out how you might rig a landmine using just black powder technology, but I'm not really sure, you know, like 1800s black powder tech. But I'm still kind of dubious that you'd have the technical experience available in the setting of Grim Dawn to rig that many of them. Wow, that's a lot of dudes. But hopefully we can take care of that obelisk before we die hideously in a hail of aether fire. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is that we're going up against ethereals here. I think once we get to the necropolis, we're not going to see too many ethereals for most of the rest of the main campaign. Like the original main campaign. After that, it's going to be mostly chthonics. Again, if I'm remembering correctly.
That skill's not ready.
Like, this is the last big ethereal confrontation that we have.
That skill's not ready.
Okay. Ah, yes, another obelisk, of course. Okay, let's get out of there before we get burnt up. I think we'll be fine on the whole of it, like clearing out this area just a bit, so that whenever we get done with the chthonic rift earlier in the area, we'll be clear to just kind of walk through here afterward. There we go. Okay, I think we're heading in generally the right direction. It'd actually be kind of rad if we could get to the next, wow, look at all those ethereals. If we could get to the next rift gate, and then go back and take care of that chthonic gate so that we can just, wow, the feeling's mutual, guys. Yeah, if we could get to the point where once we get out of the chthonic gate, we can just pop our own personal rift gate and then just, yeah, there we go, excellent. Because I'd like to be able to just get done with that and then just right over here instead of dealing with this mess of fools. Plus, it'd be kind of cool to get a level up either before or just after getting into the chthonic gate, because that's going to be tough. My personal memory of the game is that the chthonic enemies are scarier in general. And I don't mean in character design, I mean, or in lore even. I'm talking like just in terms of how fast can they kill you. I've kind of talked about it in previous episodes, if I'm not misremembering, that the differences gameplay-wise between the ethereals and the chthonics as different factions is sort of nuanced, but it does feel a lot to me kind of like GDI versus Hand of Nod. Not in a one-to-one way, but in a... the ways in which one is strong is sort of not really... Oh, wow, look at that. I like that. I just like the idea of a, like, fake... like the fake out there, like a mimic. Because functionally speaking, that's kind of a mimic. Right? Mimicking an aether deposit. But yeah, it's like, they're not exactly one-to-one, and you can't really compare the two evenly, but they do have sort of similarities and contrasts that... like, similarities and differences that are meaningful, but nuanced. Like how, there's a lot of melee involved in the Chthonics that, like... how to put it? Like, I would have to do, like, instead of off of the top of my head as I'm just getting into things again, attempt at explaining it, it would take, like, you know, me looking at footage and going over each individual enemy type. But the gist is that the Chthonics, they have a nasty habit of killing you out of nowhere, and the Ethereals, I just feel, are more... how to put it? I need to get those guides up on my phone, by the way. Thought I had to sneeze there for a second. I might still have to. Okay, I've got the shrines list, and now I need the shrines guide. From Steam, I'll read off the Steam guy's name. Because this is one of the best guides I've ever seen on Steam. Luzzifus, Luzzifus, the Devotion Shrines guide on Grim Dawn. This is one of the best guides that I've ever seen, like I just said, and I really do mean that. That's not being hyperbolic, that's not me sucking up to the guy, that's like just real AF. Seriously. No, it looks like this isn't it either. The next one is in the Necropolis. Okay. Yeah, it looks like the next one's actually in the Necropolis. In the gates of Necropolis, yeah, okay. Well, I don't know what I'm remembering being in here then, but since that's the case, like, no, really, it's not worth it to go into one of those unless you have a reason. And we don't have a reason, so... let's just skip that malarkey. Alright, so as you can see here, the Chthonics have been here. Those are their vats of blood. Like, no kidding. Human blood, for some reason. That's the thing about the lore of Chthon that I don't really get, is why the obsession with human blood. You would think these guys would be out to string up, like, pigs, cattle, horses, beasts of the field, bugs even. Oh, here we go. The text talking about the Necropolis. This is actually kind of important. What this guy's talking about is that the Necropolis is a grand mausoleum that houses, like, if you don't want to read it, basically the idea is that it's a giant thing allegedly to hold the war dead from some great conflict. how they built it with slave labor. The actual reason for the slaves will become clear later, but the necropolis, if I'm not mistaken, was actually not built for the purposes it was alleged to have been built for. As we'll find out, more or less, especially if I find the other notes. Wow, that's one big meatball. Yeah, I'm glad that it died quickly. I really like this part of the game. I think it's a really good, like, finale. The mood is good, the setting is good. I mean, honestly, I don't have enough good things to say about Grim Dawn. Like, everything about this game, for what it is done well. There's some gripes that I have, but they're more my personal distaste for certain stuff in gaming rather than from a strictly structural game design perspective. It's the difference between being like, I personally don't like double jumps. Not that I don't, I love double jumps, don't get me wrong, but it would be like the difference between I don't like double jumps as a mechanic and saying double jumps are bad. Like, one is a subjective statement, the other one is an objective claim. You know, like, there are many objective things that this game does good, and there are a few subjective things that I don't like, that I think are personally not really to my taste, or that I may have, like, you know, not have wanted, but, namely, some things around the resistance system. I'm not a big fan of percentage resistances as they work in this game, and especially not, like, cutting resistances and then offering, like, very few ways to I mean, this is all stuff that I'll get into if I ever do a playthrough that goes into, like, the higher difficulties. But I'm not a fan of max resistance games, if you will. I'm not a fan of percentage-based resistances on long arc timelines because they always go south. There's not really a good way to manage percentage resistances if you're going to have a story over a certain length, or if you're going to have tiered difficulties. That's a problem that Elden Ring suffers from too, by the way. In my serious, like, the structural component of that is, I think, sound. Like, the objective structural component of that complaint. The reason why I view it as a subjective thing in this game is that the way that the difficulties handle it, I think they have a decent answer to that problem, but I personally don't like how they handled it. Does that make sense? It's like, yes, there is a way that you can get around the... And I guess maybe it'd be worth, like, doing a short video on what I'm talking about there regarding, like, the percentage versus flat resistance problem, and how that turns into a problem and why it is a problem whenever developers go down that route for designing their balance, like, for damage and defense. Just have to take out that stupid obelisk. Ah, goodness. Get out of there before we end up cooked. Okay, it's dead. Great. But the gist is that, like, it's kind of a multiple order problem where it goes, there's an objective problem, I think that they have an objective solution, I dislike subjectively that objective solution to that objective problem kind of deal. And then there's the nuance of it's only a problem within certain, like, contexts. There's other contexts where percentage-based resistances are perfectly fine in a structural sense, as far as, like, game design goes. It's that kind of thing where I'm talking about something that would take a lot more nuance to really get into the nitty-gritty of the more I think about it. But My point is that that's about the only thing I can think of that I have to complain about in the biggest air quotes possible. It's not really a complaint, it's a criticism, and if you can't tell the difference, you should probably think on that. That's not really good if you can't tell the difference between a complaint and a criticism. They are sometimes the same thing, but there is a difference between the two. Really. Like, one difference is definitely that one is meant, at least partially, even if unintended by the critic, to be constructive in some way, shape, or form, or at least can be constructive. And whether or not something is a criticism or just a complaint, in that sense, is not entirely dependent upon the intent of the person uttering that. It's actually intent more on the structure of what, you know, that's getting into like the logic of how, that's like getting into a dissection of how intent versus actual can make a difference whenever you're viewing statements as not just statements, you know what I mean? That doesn't apply to like normal speech. It applies to if you're trying to use, you know, constructive, like if you're trying to handle the information of what's being said rather than, you know, trying to be communicative. Like there's a difference between attempting to be communicative and trying to use what is communicated in an as information, like as data, rather than as like an interpersonal exchange at one level or another. But to get back to what I was saying, though, like, I have nothing but... I can't say I have nothing but good things, but I have not enough good things to say. Like, this game's great. And this whole final area I like a lot. Just from the theming, how it's done, all that. What it leads up to, even. The resistances thing, because I feel like I should probably put some kind of a cap on that. The resistances thing is basically that percentage-based resistances have a very finite context within which they are not going to devolve into weird trying to play the math games. Because if you really think about how percentages work, right? It becomes increasingly more difficult to balance around percentage-based resistances the longer you go in, like the further you go into damage numbers and the higher you go into like escalating levels of difficulty. Which is why Elden Ring has like a feeling that everything in the late game is overtuned. Even worse in the DLC, what little of it I've played, is because that game's stuff is, it's not completely percentage-based in Elden Ring, but most people, for the most part, will basically tell you, if you ask them, hey, are the resistances in Elden Ring based on a percentage, or based on a flat, amount, or a mixed, system? Most would just go like, yeah, it's percentages, because the little bit of flat resistances you get in Elden Ring are like, it's, for all intents and purposes, you're dealing with a percentage-based rather than a flat resistance system. But if you think about how percentages work, and this is just something that you I mean, it's not like anybody doesn't know how percentages work, and it may sound like I'm speaking the obvious, but it really does warrant sitting with it for a minute because of the implications that come of it, right? That if you're, and by the way, I have a lot of hours in Warframe, so like, my distaste for percentage-based resistances, and I don't think it's logarithmic. But yeah, my distaste for percentage-based resistances definitely is rooted in Warframe's endgame, and how I think that Warframe's endgame would definitely be infinitely better served if they just rehauled the entire system into a flat damage reduction system. And I mean, this also gets into the illusion of progress in gaming, and how like progress in most games, as regards defense especially, is hindsight oriented. It's like you start at a 0 point and then work away from that point, and then in hindsight you realize that your character has grown, rather than actually having any forward-looking progress that matters. Because whenever you fall behind, that's whenever you get the like forward progress, like looking forward, and that can be good in some instances. Like that can, you can kind of have like a sense of, yeah, you know, my guy gets over this hill and I'm just gonna, you know, destroy these things now once I get that one skill or that one item. But that doesn't always, like, not everybody likes that. Some people, and I've been that person at times. I mean, there's times where I like that in a game and there's times where I don't. Where like needing to look forward for progress and then achieving it is going to cause like a sort of, ah man, this stinks. Like, because it basically means that you're either suboptimal or you're on the level and you look backwards and go, okay, I can totally beat, you know, as a level 20 guy, I can beat the crud out of that thing at level 10 that gave me difficulty. Or you're over the current difficulty curve, so you're effectively occupying the same position in the game where you would normally be looking backwards, which is definitely like, I mean, I'd like to think anybody watching this has definitely experienced that in a game where you're like over-tuned for, like, if you've optimized your character such that you can manhandle the current area even though you're at the level of the current area kind of deal. That's a whole different thing though. The reason why I bring that up though is because the percentage-based difficulty thing kind of ties into that, in the sense that it's not percentage-based difficulty, percentage-based resistances. It kind of ties into that in that you're talking about difficulty curves, effectively, whenever you're talking about any system of resistances, or like, because you're talking about balance, right? Like, it all comes into balance over the arc of gameplay, like, where you're going to be at, and assuming that there is like a differential in damage, health, defense, whatever, because there are games where that doesn't happen. I mean, there's beat-em-ups where your guy just has the same damage per punch and same HP and same, like, you might unlock new moves or something, but effectively, you get what I'm saying. But in games that isn't the case, in games like Grim Dawn and Elden Ring and Warframe and any other game in which you have progression that involves damage statistics and balance of damage output, what you're really going to be dealing with is the problem in a percentage resistance system where you start off at level 1, say, and you do 10 damage and your enemies do 10 damage, and obviously you have like 50% takes it down to 5, 90% takes it down to 1. Okay, great. Then you get to level 20 and everything's doing 20 damage, right? You see where this is going. That eventually you have to, if you don't want everything to feel the exact same, or if you aren't willing to do the calculations to make everything feel the exact same on the same level at all times, what you end up with is a situation that's kind of lopsided, like where in Elden Ring at the end of the game, you can have 60 vigor, you're still going to get, if you don't have, like, even if you do in some instances, the most optimal set of armor on for base resistances for X, Y, or Z, you're still going to take, with 1500 health, you're still going to take like 800 damage even if you resist 40% of the damage, that kind of thing. Whereas if you just had a flat resistance system, you could make it to where the player's health always has like a similar value through like, but then that necessitates like new gear, a system in which you can like have, right, where you can have that scaling of defense. That's kind of where these problems all intersect. It's like, okay, well, if you have the flat, how do you deal with having a way to stack flat resistance up to, right? Because the whole percentage-based resistance system thing is a shortcut around that, because you can then, like, maybe... The way you could look at it is like, okay, well, the way that you gate that is through progress, you know, through sheer number of upgrades that are available, or through items that aren't available until X, you know, portion into the game. I mean, I could do a whole video on this, and I probably should. But yeah, the simple gist of it is that if you're not willing to do all of that extra work, and I don't blame anyone who isn't, because that takes a lot of head work for one thing, like a lot of thinking, like, you know, the statue of the guy just sitting down with his hand on his knuckles. It's like that kind of like, you know, think emoji. It takes a lot of head work to really figure out, like, okay, well, how do we organize a system that can deal with that, right? That can deal with an escalating flat system. And that's just the mechanical side of things, because if you're going to go with a flat system, then you've got the problem of, like, okay, well, how do we make it feel like our character, like our player character, isn't just on a treadmill? Oh, hey. A cursed smith, huh? Okay, we'll make a gun. How about another one? One more. One more. Come on. This is why you don't gamble. Can I sell these here? No, I can't. That stinks, okay. Well, I need to go sell stuff now. Or I guess not. I guess I've got a good amount of... Because we're only picking up greens, right? The loot filter didn't reset. That's bizarre. My settings reset for the map and for the audio, but not the loot. Wow. Okay. But yeah, that gets into the... how do you make it feel like the player character isn't on a difficulty treadmill? Where, like I was saying, and this is where it ties into the difficulty thing that I was talking about earlier. There's a real problem where once someone understands that... once the illusion is broken and you kind of stop looking at the game that you're playing as I'm making progress and keeping up with stuff, and instead develop the attitude or the perspective of, while playing the game, that is, of any given game that this can happen in, like, once the player looks backwards and goes, oh crap, I'm still just basically on the same... Like, I'm fighting to stay at equilibrium. I'm not actually getting stronger. I'm effectively, you know, as an equivalence, I'm no stronger than I was at level 10 against level 10 enemies. I'm just at level 30 equally strong against level 30 enemies, and that can really ruin... That's like a big problem in game design of, like, trying to keep a player from not having that happen. Because once that happens, that, I mean, depending on the person, I mean, me, I'm cool with it. As you could tell, like, I kind of live in that space of equivalences and stuff. I don't really care. You know, I enjoy playing the game for playing the game, bro. I don't... But that's not to knock people who have that and are, like, you know, of the opinion that, oh, wow, this stinks, actually, because it's just kind of a treadmill. I'm not really actually getting any stronger, right? And that can be a problem with any system, is what actually sort of undermines the reason for perhaps not wanting a flat system, because the flat system would make that perhaps a little more obvious because you're working with discrete units. So instead of like, oh, I'm resisting 90% of well, not 90%, but oh, I'm resisting 50% of damage now and then 60% of damage later, but you're still effectively taking the same amount of damage. With discrete units, like, oh, I was resisting 50 of 100 damage with my 50 resistance, and now later I'm resisting, 9,000 out of 10,000 damage or whatever. Like, that can risk pulling it really, really, really quickly, the illusion right from the eyes of the person playing that they're actually making progress. Okay, I see here on the guide that in this place we've got a thingy, a shrine. I think I'm going to cut here though, and we can resume the talk of game design in a second.